What's up guys, it's your boy Saint. Today we're gonna go over how I made this Mike Dean synth style sample. Let's get right into it. All right, so first things first, I started off with this bell. Pretty basic. What we've got here are a couple plugins. So we've got transient shaper to kind of tame some of the attack so it wasn't too overbearing. We've got chorus. These are the settings we did for the chorus. We've got ROM, the ambiance setting, and then a channel EQ to kind of just take out the frequencies I didn't like. This is what we actually played into the MIDI, and I'll open this up so you guys can see it. And then what you're not seeing here is an automation that I made. And this is honestly like the sauce on making stuff just sound kind of dark and like cool. Having like a different take. Instead of just having the notes play out normal, you just kind of automate. If you hit automation, you can choose pitch bend. It'll show up down here and then you just bend it down. So the second bell we have is also from RIP speakers. It sounds like this. Pretty dope. Kind of similar path here. We've got the transient shaper, the chorus, realm, stab tail preset on this one, and then another EQ, just taking out some of the stuff I didn't like. Here is the MIDI we did here. And you can see we have the same automation kind of bending the notes, and I chose to have this A just over and over again, dun dun, just give it like some kind of rhythm. Next bell we have, again from RIP speakers, it sounds like this. And I really like the tail end of this. This is a kind of like an accent type thing. I threw a micro shift actually on this one, so it kind of spreads it out in the stereo image. Another chorus to kind of give it even more of that sauce, little plate, those are the settings, and then channel EQ, just taking out some of the harsh frequencies. Yeah, pretty straightforward. Here's all the bells together. All right, moving on to the piano. So the piano is actually a really fire basic preset called Soft Piano from Spitfire Audio. This is a free plugin, so I highly recommend downloading it if you don't have it already. What I have on the piano is OTT. These are the settings, kind of just tweaked. Turned down some of the highs, turned up the mids a touch, turned down the lows quite a bit. Depth is at 43%. And then just mess with like some of the gain and stuff. But overall, this is kind of my thought process for the actual MIDI. What I did is the C, E flat, G, which is just the C minor chord, but I've spread them across 3 octaves. So the C is on C2, the E flat is on E flat 3, the G is on G4. And then we've got these little notes in between that kind of land on the next chord. Right there, we've got C, G, D, and F. And then right here, we land back on the C minor chord. Right here, C minor chord. All I did here was change the note. So if you go up 5, you're back to the root. So down 5, just like that. We land on this G, same little walk down. This chord here. And then we end on the C minor. And then here is the C minor chord again, except this note is just 2 down. So that'll give it kind of like a step up kind of feeling. So here it is just with the piano and the OTT turned on. Pretty straightforward, moving right along. All right, this pad is from Analog Lab. This is actually a shout out to my boy Kid Capone and I. This is a preset called Strawberries and Cream that we dropped for free. I'll leave a link in the description for that pack. It's a multi-kit pack, comes with a bunch of Analog Lab presets where we just recorded like some guitars and pedals through an amp, sampled that into Mellotron, and then turned it into an instrument. We tuned everything, gain staged it all for you. So it's really easy to use. Some really fire presets in there. And then there's even like RC20, effect rack presets, samples, full-on samples, stems, all of it. It's all free too. It's like pretty crazy, but I'll put a link for that in the description below. EQ to take out some of the highs, ROM, Stardust preset. Here's what the pad sounds like. Pretty straightforward. All right, moving right along. This is probably my favorite sound in the entire sample, and it's also the easiest, but it sounds like it would have been the hardest to make, if that makes sense. So here's the starting preset in Juno. This is the Dreaming of a Harp preset, and it's as easy as this. You literally just pick a minor chord that you want to play, or just whatever key you're in, and you play it. Now the trick here is you see how it's speeding up and slowing down. You might not necessarily want that because the final product sounds like this. So it's chopped, right? And it's pretty fast. Well, what I did to get from this kind of more variation to what I ended up with is I just played the 3 notes I needed to make the minor chord, and then I prolonged it all the way through like 8 bars, and then I bounced it. So if you do this, I'll just do it again for you guys. So just bounce this like synth, ARP, bounce, so you know what it is. And then here you're gonna have that final like just 8 bars of all of the ARP stuff. And then you find the pockets like where it works. And so right there, I might drag that out, delete this one and put this in the front, and then go find another one. So that's essentially all I did to come up with this. And then what I did from here is I added ROM, the Dark Sister preset, cymatics, origin to make it sound more lo-fi, almost like as if it came from a real synth, a vintage synth. And then I ducked out some of the harsh frequencies. So here it is without those 3. And then it just cuts off, which is what I wanted, but I wanted the reverb to do that crazy weird effect. Here's the cymatics. This honestly, like, you wouldn't think this would make such a big difference, but this is gonna make it sound like you got it from a real Juno and maybe even ran it through tape or something. Yeah, the wobble, all of that. And then just taking out some of the harshness, like I said. All right, moving on to the next sound. So I absolutely love Jupiter for the subs that are in this thing. I've changed some of the parameters here. So if you want to, you know, pause the video and copy it, if you have this plugin, it's awesome. Saturation, just the free knob. Yeah, I use a lot of free plugins, guys. Honestly, you don't have to buy crazy stuff. I mean, the microphone's crazy. I'll explain why I got this microphone in another video. It's mainly for client work and stuff. But anyways, here we have the EQ. Here it is with both of those settings. Yeah, super fire. And then this little accent one is pretty cool. So it's just another Jupiter where I changed some of the settings. Again, here you can see what all the settings are if you want to pause the video. But then I turn on micro shift to kind of spread it out, and then I only have it on the accent notes that I want. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Together, those two sound like this. So yeah, it's just to kind of give that like sizzle to the end of the phrase on those notes. Now this B section is probably the coolest part. I'm going to use this for my thumbnail because I think it just looks dope. I'm not going to lie. You can't sit here and tell me that this doesn't look crazy. But it's pretty simple. I mean, it's just some basic automation. So I'll let you listen to what it sounds like while you kind of look at what's happening here. So you can kind of see what's coming in and what's ducking out. Cool. So it doesn't sound like, it sounds like there's a lot going on, but it's really not too complicated when you strip it back. So let's start with the bounce here first. So this is just a section that I bounced from the first section, and now we're bringing it to here. Here's what it sounds like. And all I've done here at the end, that little tape stop effect, you can do this with a lot of different stuff. Logic has a built-in one where if you make a fade, right click and hit slow down instead of fade, it'll do that tape stop. Here's the halftime settings. I really love the effects all the way to the left. Cool. And then what I did is just EQ'd it to get rid of some stuff I didn't want. And then the gain actually isn't doing any gain. It's just an automation here where it just cuts out so it perfectly chops and it doesn't give me that little kind of section that I don't want right here. and then you can see the gain going down and up. Cool, that's all that is. This next section sounds like this. So what I'm doing here is, here's just with no effects. It's just the bass from earlier, but what I'm doing is I'm again automating stuff so that way we can get some variation, especially in the stereo width. So all I'm doing here with this RC20, you'll see initialize preset, nothing's turned on, but watch the width and the gain knob as it plays. So it's turning up the width and the gain, so it gets louder, which to our ears, louder always sounds better. So when you have that kind of trick, like while it's like wide and loud at the same time, really quick, and then it goes back to normal, you can kind of just trick people into making it sound cool. And then the second part starts right here, this automation for the trance gate. So this plugin, shout out Kid Capone, again, frequent collaborator, good friend of mine. He started using this a whole lot, and it inspired me to find ways to use it. So here it is turned off until this on-off section is triggered. And you can see it right here too. So this is the pattern that I selected. There's actually two patterns. So this first one, and then right here it changes down here. Pattern 1 to pattern 2 is automated, and then on-off is automated. And those are the patterns, those steps. On is blue, off is gray, I believe, or vice versa. And then you can choose the ADSR as well. So you can choose almost like a synth, like the attack and release and all that. So yeah, sounds super cool, but it's honestly pretty basic. You just have to know kind of how to use automation. All right, and then the final section is kind of just stuff recycled from the first section. I've layered some stuff. So the main thing is this trance gate again on the bell this time, just to keep like kind of like a call and response from, you kind of heard the trance gate in the B section, and now you're gonna hear it throughout the C section, I guess. You kind of heard the trance gate in the B section, and now you're just going to hear it in kind of this like outro section, just to remind you of what you heard earlier. Yeah, so that's pretty basic. Again, it's just a couple things you can see here on the screen, like what I took from the left and what I kind of copied over. The bell, these two bounces are the main kind of new thing that I did. And then this B section bounce, but without the cuts until the second time through. And then here's the outro, which is really just the piano down an octave and then most of the sounds taken out. So yeah, that's pretty much it. This video is already kind of getting long, so I'm just going to quickly go through my master chain. I've just got a Puig child here, just kind of taming some of the peaks and making things sound more glued together. I've got J37. This is the initialized preset, except I changed this to the 888 formula, and I turn the saturation up to like 1-ish, and then I just make sure that these are kind of hitting where it's more like I'm looking for the sound, not for that actual meter. So just use your ears if you have that. Tape plugin. Here's just a basic kind of EQ preset that I use sometimes, and then a limiter just to get some level out of it. But yeah, that's it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it to this point, thank you. I appreciate you. Make sure to subscribe if you are still here, and if you do enjoy the content. Yeah, thank you guys so much. Peace out. God bless, and I'll see you in the next one.